There you go.
We're up and
We
running.
can handle that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Okay. These will come up Fridays.
So call the meeting to order.
Usually the council pack
Okay.
comes out the Friday before, but you should email these to the members, just this agenda.
Sure.
Or have,
Yeah, before.
Like
Because I couldn't
Mary
find it on the
Doctor.
website
Yeah.
because I wanted to prep, but, and I have most of the things on here. Anyways, you ready?
All right, go ahead.
No, we're not
Right.
ready.
Okay.
Hold on.
Well-
I mean, that's going, but this isn't.
Sure.
Now we're ready.
we're ready, all right.
Yep.
All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. What a happy morning this is. We're calling to order this meeting of the Green Bay Public Arts Commission on Wednesday, November 9th, 2016, in City Hall, room 604. It's 7 a.m.
And I'd like to note that Alderman Scannell was here early.
Yeah.
He was the
wow.
first one here. Did you ever leave City Hall?
Yeah. Yeah. The roll call will commence. Ken Touchton here. Matt Burrow.
His excuse.
Absent.
His excuse.
Excused.
Yep.
Randy Scannell.
Here.
Sharon Wake.
Present.
And also we have Celestine Jeffries.
Here.
Is there a motion to
I
approve?
move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have no communications for this meeting, and our old business will commence. Update on creation of Facebook, GBPAC website, and GBPAC page on city website and .gov extension.
Right. So I'll start with what I've got. So we do have a GBPAC page on the city website. Shelby created it.
Oh.
The .gov extension, Mike Ronnie can get back to me, and it was a little crazy with the election, so I'll be sure to have that for the next meeting. That was my portion of it.
Okay, so the .gov we're still.
Still working on, but
Still working on.
yeah.
And
I think it might be a little involved, to be honest with you. So if it's not the .gov, then, can we just accept a .com?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Okay.
think, so I just texted Matt wanting an update on the website costs and details.
Okay.
Because he was gonna bring those.
Yeah, that's right, so I
also,
can get it paid for.
Yeah. Okay.
So if Matt can just email me that information, so I can,
Sure.
get a check, so we can get that started.
He should be able to, he said to text him if we needed anything, so I wouldn't be surprised if he texts in the next 10
Okay,
minutes.
sounds
We'll
good.
have that answer.
I will need some sort of thing showing that he paid and that we're reimbursing him.
Okay, so.
receipt.
Yeah, receipt.
Receipt, yeah.
Yeah, so like just a print out from the website or whatever you call
Sure.
that, ISP, what do you call that? No.
Yes.
No,
PDF?
no. The place that you go to make websites.
Oh, domain name.
Domain names, right, so the domain name company.
Yeah, probably.
Just need
GoDaddy
a
or
receipt.
Maybe he did something else. Okay, receipt from domain name.
Right.
Helps.
And it would be a reimbursement, not a direct payment. Just because right now we don't have the mechanism to do a direct payment for domain names, I don't believe.
Okay, that's fine.
He can just print, he can give us an invoice.
Yeah.
Print it out.
And if he needs, something else in terms of making a payment, then he should contact me and I can do that.
Okay.
And I can be reimbursed,
That's fine.
whichever.
I don't think that'll be an issue
Okay.
at all, so. Update on shared documents, so, but actually Trello, huh?
Yeah, or other platform.
Or the platform.
Mhm.
So, have you guys all experimented with the Trello thing? So
Haven't had a
last
chance
week,
to.
I
went to the website.
I'm in it, but I haven't really played with it at all yet.
So it's an interesting platform. It doesn't allow for you to create documents or anything like that, but it does allow for like note-taking and like categorical organization kind of thing. So I recommend that we all check it out. Trello, Trello, and you'll have the link, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Matt sent the link.
Cheryl, did you get the link?
I'll have to check to see.
That was a while ago.
I was gonna say,
It
I
was.
think I got it a while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you have to, I think, just give them your email, and then maybe, like, make a password. I don't even know if you have to make a password, I don't remember.
I don't remember what
I
I
made
did.
I have right, so I have a Trello thing, which I realized after when you sent it to me, I made a password,
You did?
I
Okay.
did,
So
yeah.
it does require a password.
yeah.
And
Boy,
then-
I bet I didn't write that down.
So what will we use this for? What's our application as a committee for Trello?
So Trello will be just like a source for us to look back on, to reference, essentially. Like the
Okay.
projects that we're working on,
Okay.
the status of those projects, what needs to be done within those projects.
Okay.
So right now, last week I just briefly listed the grant, well, no, not the grant application, but some of the things that we'll talk about today, the rotating our program,
Okay.
the annual grants program, the GIS mapping things, and the different types of GIS mapping that we're gonna need to do.
Okay.
So essentially, it's just kind of like an accountability resource for
Okay.
us to reflect on, to resource from. And we could put ideas down, we could put thoughts for potential programs, events, those types of things down, just so we don't forget them, and that we can
Yep.
all see them together.
Okay. Is this a public document then?
That's, you know what, I
Mhm.
realized I didn't ask her. I think it is.
And
Yeah.
I think you can view it, anyone can
Right.
view it, not everyone can.
Enter into it, but
Yeah,
you could see it, right? I'm
exactly.
thinking it would probably need to be, right?
Mhm.
And we could put that information on our website if people want to see the Trello account.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, if we just put it out there on the web, like a link to it, so they could view it but not actually tinker with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Like a
everyone-
read-only
Exactly.
application?
Not everyone has, only we can modify the Trello account.
Right.
Right.
With a commission. Okay.
Well, that's actually, if we just put it out there,
Mhm.
then, okay, but let me just, because I realized I didn't ask her that, because I'm asking her now. Okay,
Sure.
Cool, I like that idea.
Okay. So that's the old business. And now we have new business. So
Mhm.
first, item number one, consideration possible action on replacing GBPAC member. So that was Tina Quigley.
Mhm.
We now have Pooja Weller, who has her own company called The Row Home.
Mhm.
And she is,
The Row Home?
yeah,
Spell that?
ROW,
ROW,
HOME.
and it's 2 words?
Yes, not
Okay.
3 words, The Row Home.
Oh, The Row Home,
Yeah.
okay.
And she's a website development manager. She does graphic design work. And she recently opened up that store, I don't know I guess you'd call it a store shop thing, next to Gavarna.
Yep.
Oh,
On
yeah.
Broadway, yep. I
Yep.
think we talked about her at the last meeting.
Okay.
We did.
yeah.
Do
So-
we need to make a recommendation as a committee to the mayor?
We
then
do, I
with
think.
regards to,
Mhm.
because the mayor makes that appointment
Mhm.
through the
So-
council, right?
Yeah,
So, is there any other
candidate.
candidates that you guys have thought of at this point?
Because really that position is the person connected to the arts
Yeah.
community, right? Is that the position?
She's,
Is that
yeah,
kind of
she's
the?
connected to the art garage too, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
She is. So, the least we should do at this point is make her a liaison. But my one apprehension is that Mosaic still has yet, I texted Tina.
Oh,
find
to
out who
fire-
the
to hire a
director was,
director?
Because we're gonna want that coordination with
Mhm.
Mosaic big
Right.
time. So I'm hesitant. We could make her a liaison now. Could we just,
Well, we don't have a liaison position.
We do not have a liaison. We're going to talk about having advisory members, but
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. so
later on in the
What's
agenda.
the difference? Can you explain that to me? Advisory members and liaisons?
Well, I'm thinking like, for example, the redevelopment authority has the seated board,
I
and then
see.
they have 3 liaisons, which is this Jeff Marcus.
Oh, they're called liaison, not advisory.
They're called
Okay.
liaison,
Yeah,
not advisory.
Leah and,
Leo Waker, people from the bid districts.
Right,
Sit, they don't vote,
right.
but they are at the table.
Okay.
And they can participate in conversation, like the rest of the
Right.
board, so they just don't have the ability to vote. It's my opinion, I think.
I think it's hard, I
Obviously.
mean, I think we should discuss whether or not, like, who should be, you know, is Mosaic Arts having a voting position important to
Right.
the commission?
You know, maybe our liaison position should be the Mosaic Arts, the Art Garage.
The symphony.
Like the established art groups
Okay.
in town, maybe
Sure.
maybe we should look at it that way, that'd be the liaison, because there
Okay.
could be any number of
The
those
fine
groups,
arts
right?
school, you know,
Sure.
someone from there.
Right.
Figure out who we
Always would be a
want,
tough
like,
time
for
to
those
do that.
liaison positions, but then place, a recommendation of the mayor.
So I would
Regards to-
consider Pooja to be a
Okay.
representative of the Art Garage.
Okay.
She's on the board, and she works for them. I don't think she's staff, but she's on the board.
Okay.
So
But the person, who runs the art garage?
the president's
It's the
name-
president. I'm like, I would think it'd be the president of that.
Great, you go to
Who-
the top, yeah.
Who
That would be the liaison.
That'd be the liaison.
Yeah.
You know,
So
we
she
list
could
the
still be on
executive
the-
director or the
She
She should
liaison.
still, right? Mhm.
Because we're gonna need somebody.
When is
Yeah.
our next meeting of the PAC? Is it before December 6th?
We are going to need to discuss that under.
And I'm just saying that because I'd like to meet her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have her
Yeah.
in, yeah. She'd
Before-
love to come in.
I guess before I would vote, I'm just voting off of,
Mhm.
do you know what I mean?
I
I haven't
think
met
that's
her, I
right.
don't, I think is there a resume or something like that?
Yeah.
There is.
There is, yep.
And I have it. So how about make a motion to invite
Okay,
Pooja Weller to our next GBPAC meeting, which will be in 2 weeks.
okay.
So we're gonna meet on the 23rd?
Yes.
Okay.
We are going to meet the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Your
Are you
spouse-
out of town?
I'm not. Are you?
Mm.
I'm not.
Are you?
No.
Who's cooking?
I am.
I will.
Yeah, I was
I'll
cooking,
make- I'll
and now my
make you
relatives aren't
breakfast.
coming.
I can make your, for the meeting? Make some breakfast for the meeting?
No, I meant cooking for Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm
But you can make me breakfast.
cooking for both.
Oh, yeah.
So we could actually meet on the 23rd if everyone is, I mean, if Matt's cool with that, then we could meet on the, we need to set the rest of the meetings for the rest of the year, though.
Because then
So
we
we've
could
got
actually, meet her.
And do you think
Yeah.
she'd be able to come on the 23rd? Do you think that would matter to her?
I think she could. If
Because then we could make a recommendation for
for
December 6th, right?
Christ.
Because that's your,
That's
December
correct.
6th is your next
That is the next
council
council
meeting?
Yeah.
meeting, December 6th.
I would still be willing to meet on the 12th.
Well, we may have an emergency one before that. Have you heard about that?
No,
Yes, I did. We'll talk, we can't.
but we won't cover that. I mean, that's.
No, that would- no, that would
it's
not
just-
be
This
the
needs to
one
go to
issue
December
thing.
6th,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Right.
yeah.
And how do you spell her name? Pooja or Puja?
Pooja.
Yeah, okay, I was right. Okay, so next
And what's her
GBPAC
last
meeting.
name? What's her last name?
Weller?
Weller, Wheller.
Okay.
Okay. So, who's gonna offer the motion, so,
I'll make a motion that we invite Pooja.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Did I
For
say it
next
correctly?
meeting.
Pooja.
yeah,
Pooja,
Pooja.
yeah.
Pooja.
Pooja.
All in favor?
Pooja.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll
Okay.
invite her next week, or 2 weeks.
23rd.
Okay, this just in from Matt Bureau.
Breaking news.
Double check if I have the green light to purchase both domains. If so, I'll go ahead, I'll get a receipt this week and let me know who I send it to
Yep.
for reimbursement.
Okay.
That's fine.
So send it, he can PDF it and send it to me.
But we also need, yes, but we also need the price on the website hosting, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so should I text him that now? and then
Yeah,
we can
go
get this
ahead.
there? Okay.
Yep, because that, we did talk about the website, so you were well within
Mhm.
your purview as the chair,
Yes, green light.
yes, and the hosting.
So we can note for the record that actually Matt Bureau is here digitally.
I was gonna say, it kinda is at the meeting.
Yeah, kinda is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of like a conference
So I'll
call kind
say,
of thing.
I'll say
only-
conference
Yeah.
call.
Only,
Texting is kind of interesting.
It's a weird, the technology with public meeting is really changing.
Obviously, you want everyone to be at the table.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But I mean, maybe he's out of town, I don't know where he is. Okay, so,
Okay.
that's
Okay,
good.
so that's one, yep.
Yep.
Consideration with possible action on creation of grant application.
Mhm.
Oh,
Grant application. So, okay, so this would be in regard to the annual grants program.
That we would fund.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Assuming that we
Not
get.
getting money, we have to get money, but yes.
Okay.
So we need to start talking about what we want to see on the grant application. So an artist applies to us for money.
Okay.
there must
so-
be applications, other, I mean, you don't have
Cities
to
that
necessarily
have
reinvent the wheel here, do we?
Calls
Right.
for artists.
Can we just back up a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, right now, as the PAC, we're looking at doing like this annual grant program.
Yes.
Okay, and that's, okay, so we've got that established. Then we're also, I see further down, we're also looking at rotating our program,
That's
so
right.
another separate type of situation. So this would be this is based on if we receive the money, right, the stadium tax money. If we get any of that, then we'll have some money to put in for this annual grant program.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's distinguish, I mean, I see the rotating art program down on the bottom, but we should probably distinguish between what we mean by grant program and
Right.
rotating art program. How are
Right.
they different?
Sure.
Right.
They're very different entities. The rotating art is art on loan from artists that will be in a public space for a determined amount of time with the intention that A, it will be sold, and we would take like a 5% commission,
Okay.
essentially to cover our costs, whatever. Or B, that time frame is lapsed, and then through a contractual agreement with that artist, they will come and pick up their own art, remove it.
And then we can put another.
Yep, and then we replace it with another
A
art.
lot of cities have that.
Yeah.
Which is.
Yeah,
Cool
Racine
thing.
has it.
So maybe we can find some documentation.
I
from
can,
those guys.
actually. I spoke to the mayor of Racine, so.
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be
Yep,
great.
We're
they
still in
actually
Illinois.
sell their art, too.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Mm.
ultimately the goal.
Right.
Is to be a
It's for the artists to have
facilitation.
that facility to sell the art.
Exactly.
In the meanwhile, we get to enjoy it.
That's right.
Which is cool.
So
Right.
we're doing a number of things. We're beautifying the city. We're identifying ourselves as a art-loving city, and that creates culture. And we're also a huge resource for artists.
Right.
Okay.
And if you have a public space that's going to give you free, well, not free, 5% commission, artists are going to jump on that.
Right.
So we need to. I'd like to talk about something else that is in regard to
So
the.
let's distinguish the rotating art program with the grant application.
Okay.
So talk about that, so we can have like a contrasting comparison.
Okay, cool. So that was the rotating art on loan. This would be the annual grant program. So we would have a bank of money that we could allocate towards artistic endeavors, essentially. We want to keep this fairly open to interpretation, like what we're looking for. It could be, everything needs to be matched at least 50%. So if there's someone asked for $5,000, that means they're going to raise $5,000.
Okay. Can I back you up a second?
Sure.
Who defined that?
This
The
is some.
parameters of the.
This is an idea
grant
that I
program?
had.
It's an idea. We're
Okay.
talking
This
about
is,
it.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
can change this. if
Yeah,
there's something
okay, I just
else.
didn't know if the council and committee had established those, what they wanted.
Nope, and it's not in the
Okay.
ordinance either.
Okay.
So this is my vision based on my experience in other cities working with similar annual grant program
Yep.
things. So so this is all potentially can be changed
Yeah.
and made better. So it would be a program that would facilitate the funding of either sculptures, two-dimensional, three-dimensional visual arts, arts events such as musical, performance, theatrical, spoken word,
Right.
all those things, humanities, all those things are creative, artistic events
Yep.
that would be eligible for funding. Also, like culinary instruction thing.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Culinary arts. Yep.
culinary arts.
We're not
Really-
closing the door on nobody.
You know, it's really, I kind of feel
So
it's
will that
almost like.
include like macrame?
You
That
are
is
in,
folk art.
man. You are in. So it sounds to me like really what we need to do is set up the program,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And how we're gonna rank projects through that program.
That is, so we need.
Right, so we'll set up the
Right.
parameters of, call to artists, these are the things and any other thing we may consider, right? And then the committee would just need to figure out a way to make kind of a rubrics of,
Well, I think each
how
artist
you
needs,
point them, how you choose them.
Right.
right?
each artist needs to bring a sample.
Well,
I think coloring the arts just hit
That's
right
part
to
of
the top.
especially at 7:00, the breakfast. Put emphasis on the breakfast culinary.
Samples
but-
needed.
That's where we decide, do we interview
Yes.
Do we, is this a catch call, like people come in, I mean, we've done this process, like, I think through Block Grant or through, Leadership Council or whatever. It's really defining it up front and then
Yes.
just making sure we have the process in place, so.
That's right.
Because those recommendations then would go to council for approval?
Mm-hmm. For
No,
sure.
we
They
wanna-
would.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty
I'm
sure.
sure.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, I thought so.
Do we need them to go, like, if it's
Yes.
gonna be, oh,
That's
the
what the
grants, okay.
Yeah.
Because this is the grant program, so it'd be, I would think what would happen would be like, we'd run this program with the recommendation that these get funded.
Yeah.
Right,
That would go to the council for approval.
that is correct.
Yeah.
We don't go to a different committee, we are the
No,
committee,
yeah,
right?
we're the committee.
This
Right,
committee
and it goes right to
council.
Yep.
council.
Even
So-
though it's our money?
Correct.
Yep.
It's not our money.
It's not.
No,
I mean,
it's
it's-
Green Bay's money.
Yeah.
Bay's money, and so
And the
this.
council is the
Right.
the
The
final.
council
money-
gave us that money.
Right,
Okay.
our money.
And we may get some more money on top of that, but,
Right,
Okay.
so, because the way the ordinance is written, it is advisory to the common council.
okay.
So we are not independent like the GBNLC.
Okay.
We are like the RDA.
Right.
I just want to make this as streamlined as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I see, anytime if something runs through the common council in any city, it gets hung up, potentially. Just the
Good.
potential for clause to get dug into that and have it changed from our initial vision.
So let me just offer that part of not being hung up, we had a conversation, I went to the League of Municipalities meeting, and that's where I met Ann Katz and Mary Panzer. And one of the things that we need to consider is that, these are recommendations for the common council, and so we would need to, as we are looking at artists and projects and performances, we need to think about the fact that these are good for the city, good for people who live here, and need to be approved by the common council. And so that needs, just like RDA, right? So RDA has property and funds that they, all that needs to be approved by the council. So they don't operate independent either.
Now, one thing that is possible,
Mhm.
I'm thinking, maybe, and maybe you can figure this out for me. Is it possible at some point for this committee to ask the common council to basically use this money without having to come back for approval?
Right. We
And
do that
an
at
annual
Protection of
report?
Welfare sometimes, to give us the final authority.
I mean, it isn't in place that way now, but I'm thinking, for example, we bring a generic plan per se to the common council with regards to block grant.
Mhm.
And the council's like, RDA, go spend it, don't, come back to us if there's an issue, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're gonna work within these parameters, so go
Right.
ahead and allocate the funds, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that would be, if we could get that would be good. Say, look,
That
we're
would be
gonna do mini
outstanding.
grant, we're gonna do
Yes.
rotating art.
Yes.
This is our parameters, this is
Mhm.
what we're looking for. Give us the ability to run this program, basically.
Well, what's
And
that called?
report out. I don't know.
That sounds way more of a,
We're just asking the council to give us final authority.
Yeah.
We do
Final
it
authority.
individually once in a while at Protection and Welfare.
Yeah.
Because basically, you gotta remember, the council has decided that public art is good for Green Bay, and the council wants to fund that.
Mhm.
And in doing that, the council said, we'll create a committee to help us do that work.
right, yes.
Right.
But we are still
Advisory.
advisory to the council. It's the council that's really doing it.
Right.
We're doing the grunt work. It's the council that's really saying, yes, we're doing this
That's right.
public art.
So but it sounds like we potentially might have the ability to consolidate some of that, like, back and forth
Right.
on this, if we have the final authority somehow.
And I think it's really gonna be dependent on us having a solid plan up front,
Right.
which will give the council members confidence that,
Mhm.
we're not gonna run off and do crazy, things that will offend half the city, or, do you know what I'm saying? It needs to be
So,
a standardized art process procedure, which other cities have done.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
so, we need to have a solid plan, we need to have, like, a percentage going towards this, and this, potentially.
Well, I think we'd have to figure out what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
We have to, once we get some money, hopefully we'll get some money,
Mhm.
then we can decide how much is gonna go towards this, how much is gonna go towards this.
Right.
We also have the opportunity to apply for block grant funds.
Right.
Like, I'm thinking more so for the rotating art,
Mhm.
because we wanna put those bases in.
Right.
Yes.
And as long as we put those in neighborhoods that are qualified for income, we can put those permanent pieces in with the block grant dollars.
So rotating art, we got a statue on a pedestal?
Oh, that's hard, that one hurts. A statue of you, Randy.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
So-
okay, let's make that happen if we can.
Well, I think like,
Well,
we're
with
working, I feel like we're working towards that when
Yeah,
we
yeah,
start
we-
defining these programs.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
You know, when we
Okay.
get further along, we can, you know, maybe take that to
Yeah.
council for
Yeah.
some guidance.
So,
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a grant application, especially I'll start with Madison, since they have a program that
Yeah.
is a good one.
Mhm.
And hopefully a scoring rubric as well, so we can
Mhm.
put that right in there, as long with definitions and all that good stuff.
sure, okay,
Let's
yeah.
not reinvent the wheel,
Mhm.
let's copy it.
If you wouldn't mind, if you find those, send those along to maybe everyone, just so we can check them
Absolutely.
out. On the commission.
The grant?
I mean, the
The
information. to-
rubrics, so that we can all tailor them to Green Bay and then bring them to the table and then, so we wouldn't be just
So what I could
copying.
do is, right, so what I could do is I can put it in for the next meeting,
Sure,
you know,
And
as
bring it
part of-
along.
And we have to bring it along and discuss it here.
you can't, well, I think you could still send me the document.
I'm
and
not
I-
sure about that.
Well, yeah, because like
Of
the
course.
correction welfare, we get supporting documentation beforehand.
With the
so-
packet, right, but I
With the
can't,
packet.
right, but once I've noticed the meeting and saying that we're gonna work on this, then I can send you the information.
Right, right, she can't, so,
So we'll put
we
it on the
get it
next
before
agenda.
we get it before the meeting, but it's only gonna be several days.
So we'll want to put
Because
this,
you gotta do the notice of the meeting and what's gonna be on it, and then, you know,
Then I can
supporting
give the
documentation
information. You
of.
understand, Ken?
No, I don't. Okay. So if you find a relevant documentation for an existing grant application, let's say, if you find a relevant one that potentially we could use, you can't email that to me so I could review it and make it better for the meeting?
Only to you.
yeah,
That's
I
fine.
might be
Yeah.
able to send it to you
Yeah,
as a chair, maybe not to the whole committee.
group, because that's called a walking quorum.
Yeah, I understand what a
Okay,
walking corner
so
is.
yeah,
so
Even
you email it to
documentation,
you.
like, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
even documentation.
Okay.
That's for the next meeting, if it's gonna be an agenda item, which it should be if I'm gonna send it to everybody, then, like if I said, hey, there's this cool article in the New York Times about public arts commissions, hey, check it out, that's okay.
Okay.
Right? But to say, hey, this is something we're gonna be considering for the next meeting, no.
Okay.
I can send it to you,
Okay.
and you can look at it and tweak it, and we
Two
can talk
people,
about it.
right? 3 is a walking quorum.
For this committee, 3 would be a walking quorum.
Okay.
So-
Oh, what dictates it? The
Majority.
majority. Ah, okay.
So maybe the president or the chair and vice chair.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And then at the point that we put this on the agenda for the next meeting,
Right.
at that agenda packet, or not an agenda packet, but the stuff that comes to us.
Right.
Would have that supporting documentation.
Correct.
Jason, then, yeah, so we'd have a few days to look at it before.
You know, we
Okay.
have like Friday through Wednesday.
Through Wednesday to look
Okay,
at it.
that's fine.
Does that work?
Yeah, I think,
Sorry there, Kent.
that's okay. Just so long as, like,
Welcome to the bureaucity.
Yes.
Yeah,
To
wow.
open meetings,
Welcome to open meeting law.
Yeah.
which is good, actually.
Mhm. Yes.
So this just in.
Okay.
I'm gonna deviate.
Breaking news.
Breaking
Uh,
news.
So
Breaking
for 10 tiers or both? How much will hosting be per year for 10 tiers or both? Okay, so I think he's saying, and then he writes 199.8, so $199.80.
Mhm.
I think that's the hosting.
For
Wait,
how
maybe
many,
that's
for
both.
10 years? That sounds good?
Oh, for 10 years he probably
Yeah,
meant.
Yeah.
yeah. Yes. Auto-correct.
So do we want to pay for the 10 years right away? We do,
Yeah.
Yes.
for the domain name.
Yes, we
Right.
do.
Okay, 10 years. Oh, so I think he's saying the $199 is the domain name for 10 years.
Yep, that sounds fine.
Okay. And he has not gotten back with hosting yet.
Okay.
All right, and hosting?
Yep, and hosting.
Hosting for 10 years?
Yep. Definitely.
So, do we want to go back, and we want a motion on here to approve hosting for 10 years this domain name? for
I
20
can-
bucks?
Well, we just had update.
Okay, so we didn't have the
No,
consideration of
yeah.
possible action.
So when we come back, I'll have bills.
Okay, and we'll approve
That's
those.
right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on number 2, consideration possible action. Okay, so can I get a motion to start creating a grant application?
Yes.
I don't know.
Says consideration with possible action, creation of grant application.
So,
You could say that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could, but somebody has to make that motion.
You're not what do you want to talk about? What else do we need to talk about?
I know.
No, I'm just thinking like, we should, someone's working on this and it brings it back for approval, but it's like,
That's right.
I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't,
So you
I guess
you
we
know
can make a
what?
motion to start working on a grant
So what
application.
you could do, you could refer
but
to staff. So, because we don't have anything yet, and.
We don't have anything that.
Right, the creation, you could just say refer to staff, and that means that I'm finding it.
Okay, you're finding it.
Okay, so
Right.
that's the
Oh,
motion.
you're going to be doing some research.
Yeah.
Research and bringing it back to the
Okay.
committee so we can take a look at what, maybe even the format we want and then just tweak it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fun. Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to number 3 then.
Wait, no, we need a motion to refer that to
I
staff.
make a motion to refer staff.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. All opposed? None, okay, number 3.
You're getting pretty good at that, right?
Yep,
Flip it and look.
yep.
Consideration with possible action on advisory members. Okay, so,
That was the
wanna change that to
liaison that we were
liaison.
talking,
Yeah, yeah.
should we call it maybe liaison members or?
Liaison.
Okay.
It's a liaison.
so we don't need to make any actions on this.
Well, we should recommend some names so that we can go and seek them.
Sure. I don't know, they don't have a selected director yet.
Okay, for.
But we could
mosaics.
put the position,
Yeah.
actually, I
Yeah.
didn't even put position, the director for
Yeah,
Mosaic, the
that's true.
director for the Art Garage, and was there another entity that we were
Well-
interested in?
So, what if we have any apprehensions about somebody? Like being on, like,
They're just advisory.
that's true,
You mean about the
They-
person or the position?
about that person.
Well, I really, thinking like,
Like, if this person's here, I think it would impede the progress, potentially.
But you can't worry about that.
Yeah.
Because that person may be, you want that position. Whoever's in charge of the Art Garage, you want them at the table.
That's true.
Because that's gonna change.
or mosaics.
Or Mosaic, and you can't get into
whatever it's
personalities.
No.
If they're a stick in the
No.
mud, they're a stick in the mud, you gotta just put up with them.
Oh,
I'm used to that.
But then we've seen the consequence of that efficiency also.
Well, that's.
we have the ability to
Welcome
not
to
do that.
democracy, my friend.
I mean,
Welcome
I'm just
to,
saying,
welcome to government work.
I'm not overly concerned with that,
I'm not
because I
either.
feel like this is a pretty
Especially from
solid
an
committee.
especially from an
You're chairing it.
advisory, they have no power.
There's no.
Okay.
We don't have to listen to them if we don't
The
want to. We
liaison
don't have to
members
take
are,
any
we're looking for
action.
input from them, and there's no vote, right?
And they need to be able to go forth and multiply,
Mhm.
right? They need to be able to go into the organizations and into the community and into their smaller community of people who are affiliated with them and say,
Right.
hey, there's a public arts commission, did you know about that? So,
And this
you know,
is what's going on.
even a person
Right.
who may not be the most cooperative may be good at doing something like that.
okay. Then, trying to think of other entities that we'd want to, other relevant.
There's those two, is there
Art Garage.
Art Garage, Mosaic?
um,
So Art Garage, okay,
Art Garage, Art Mosaic?
Mosaic.
I can't think of any
What
other.
about, what about our music?
The Civic Symphony,
Oh, Civic Symphony, okay.
which I'm actually affiliated with.
No, so we've got, okay, Arts Mosaic, Civic.
I was gonna say the East High Fine Arts Program. I'm questioning, should we have somebody, I mean, these are for artists, we don't have an
This is a
age limit
public-
on this.
That's
Although
true.
you do have to be old enough to execute a contract, which means you have to be 18.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Is there anything with the university, or?
I think the university should definitely be involved, there's a theater arts.
Yeah.
Well, they have visual arts on
They have
there.
visual
Does
and
anybody have a
performing.
connection with the art program? I've tried.
Yes.
You do?
My husband teaches there. I mean, he's not an art teacher. but-
How many liaison positions do we want?
You see, that's the other thing, I mean. that-
So we've got
Yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3 right now, but I think education, if we had 4.
What's the third one?
4 maybe?
Civic
Education?
Symphony. Mosaic
Symphony,
Arts, Art Garage, Civic
I
Symphony.
didn't make note of that.
Probably the university might be the best
I think the
connection,
university
because that
is-
would be spoken
right.
word,
Yep,
theater,
right.
it might encompass.
And those are all adults, they're young artists,
Right.
too.
I think
So
that'd
we
be a
wanna
great idea.
grow that.
But I wonder who it
I'll
would
find
be that would connect all
Let's
There's-
find out.
There's a
Who are-
Department of Arts, there's a Department of Design, and I think both of them would be relevant.
But we
There
need
are
someone
also-
who can.
Wait, there's also department chairs. So, I'm not sure exactly how that department is organized, but I can find out
Yeah.
and then talk to the department chair. I'm going to guess the department chair is Department of Visual and Performing. But I
Right.
need to find that out.
I think there's a chair actually for
Each?
chair, for performing
And for-
arts and design. There's 3
Oh,
chairs.
3
I think.
chairs, you
Yeah.
think?
I
Okay.
think, and then
Okay.
I think there's a dean of like all of.
So you
the-
don't,
No, we don't want the dean, no. So.
person who's a little more connected to the students and to the professors.
I think in order for the most relevance, we need the art to be represented here through UWGP. Like performance,
Right.
we'd have symphony orchestra, I think. They
But
might-
we have no theater.
Theater.
We have
Theaters.
community theaters that are, mostly
Well,
volunteer.
I think whoever it is we choose out there, they're gonna have to, or maybe even we could talk to them and they could choose amongst themselves who they'd like to be on, and they
Looking
communicate.
for a person who might.
Yeah, we're looking for this
A
person.
broader-based
Yeah.
knowledge of the arts out there.
So those chairs could get together, maybe they might even wanna rotate maybe.
And I would have to tell you also, I feel like it needs to be performing arts, because we have 2 visual arts, right?
Mhm.
We need, in order to make this balanced, I think we need to have performing arts
Performing arts.
represented.
That's true. I mean, it would be good. I do think, public arts is encompassing all of those things. However, visual is the predominant medium in
I
public
get
art.
that, you're right, I get that.
And I think-
see that.
I think for GB,
I know, we
we
need to
want to
change that.
include them all, but we don't want all those chairs. So if we go approach them and say, this is what we're doing, commingle amongst yourselves and pick someone, because that person should just be the point for all of them, because we want to include all of them.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter which one it is. Matter of fact, maybe they'll say, well, for 1 year, I'll do it, and then the next year, just so that we have a point person out there that would connect with all of them.
We were talking about how the position is important.
Well, let me also
That-
just say this
no.
too. One reason why it's good to have education is because a lot of those professors are applying for grant dollars, and that could be our match, right? We could be their match if they have to
Oh, yeah.
get, right? See, that's actually leveraging some dollars and
Yeah.
making it grow.
Mhm.
So how about if I do some exploring about, who would be a good person to talk to?
Point person from UWGB?
Right.
Okay.
Who
Yeah.
could, and is the desire of the committee to have like a point person who could represent the visual and performing?
I think as much as we can, even the music out there and everything, if we can get, I'd like to encompass as much as we can from the university, and that's the problem with picking up, just go by position in this case, because there isn't a position. They don't have a position that oversees the whole thing, so we'd hopefully have that whole community out there
Right.
pool together and figure out a way to hook up with us.
I'll
Can you
kind of-
just do some research on that?
Yep,
Figure out
absolutely.
Because I'd like to
what do we
include
have out
as much of
there?
the
Right.
university programs as we can.
Sure. So maybe on the 23rd, Celestine, you
Yes.
can come with some names
Yep,
for UWGB.
right.
So I make a motion to refer that to staff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So, wait, what are we referring to staff exactly?
Contact.
Exploring the connections at GBB.
UWGB.
And then maybe getting us the names
Of
of
the
the
people
people
for-
that
okay.
are running the art garage.
Okay, let me just write
Mosaic
that
is
down.
vacant right now.
Exploring
Mosaic
and
is vacant.
Civic Symphony, who would be that? You know what I mean? Who these
Yeah.
point person might keep
Connor McHiggins or something like that.
There's probably someone who can fill in until the directors. hired from Mosaics, I would think, right?
Sure.
The board president could.
Yeah, but you know,
president.
actually, the board president, or there's like the arts manager also
Mhm.
at the art garage. But, you know, whatever. We can go with the directors if that's.
We are
the
asking for the
research and
directors,
finding out.
right, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, we all good
Cool.
on 3?
Yep.
Yep,
Okay, number 4, consider with possible action on GBPAC intern position. Okay, so this is
Right.
the
so this
the
is,
position.
right, so, I was approached by Marcelo Cruz, a couple weeks ago, and he would like to,
Who's Marcelo Cruz?
sorry, Marcelo Cruz is a professor in the GIS department at UWGB.
Okay.
And
Oh,
so
right, okay.
he had a great relationship with Julia Upfall, a wonderful employee who left us for Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
And,
Mr. Going away.
yep, oh, you did. And he really wants to keep up that relationship with the city and internships. And so, one of the things that he recommended was, he's like, I hear that you are looking at doing some art inventorying. And of course I said, yes, as a matter of fact. So what he's proposing is, I'm sorry, just give me 1 minute.
I'll give you 2.
And I am really gonna dig and try to find out, we actually had someone do art inventory.
Yeah, I thought that was a
Did you-
communication. I put in that communication for a while back that to the mayor's office to do an inventory of all the monuments and art pieces in the city.
And I think I wanna say we did this at least 5 years ago, or 6
I
years
did
ago.
this just this
You know what I
summer or
mean, so our
something.
data will be dated, but,
So
let me see if
now-
I can find that.
So what he's offering, so please, yeah, so.
So at least whoever, you know, can
Right,
maybe have a
okay,
base.
so Cheryl will find that. Okay, so Cheryl will find previous work. And so what he's offering is this. I mean, it would be, not sure what was done before, but what he's offering is 3 or 4 interns who would divide the city up into quadrants or tri-sectors.
Mhm.
And photograph the art, hopefully do a 360 photograph,
Mhm.
GIS locate it,
Sweet.
and then we would train them how to interpret the condition of the art
Okay.
and report on that.
And then map it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Can we do a Pokemon kind of thing then?
That would be
You
so
know what?
cool.
Actually,
That would be very
that
cool.
is exactly
I would
where
do that
we need to be
Pokemon.
thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
To have like a,
Yeah,
go,
yeah. Walking
GBR,
art. We could do that with tourism, you know,
totally.
tourism.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yeah.
know what? Guess what? We can get money for that too.
Money,
Yes, we
money,
can.
money, 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 money.
So,
So this motion then, we need to create these intern positions?
So what we need to do is a simple job description.
Mhm.
This would be for credit at UWGB.
Yep.
It would be next summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not gonna happen until the summertime.
Yep,
Just to, you know, hopefully.
This coming summer, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, this coming summer.
yep, that's okay.
And that makes sense.
We want it anyway, so we can see everything.
Yes,
and
you
the
know, it's funny
condition.
because I was, as an aside, I was driving down Monroe and I passed by those 2 white settlers who are, one has a canoe on his
Yeah.
back. And so I thought to myself, you
First
know what?
Northern.
It is, oh, is it First Northern?
It used to be for, it's
You-
Bank
you-
Mutual now, but it used to
Yeah.
be the
Used to
First
be
Northern
First Northern,
Savings
yeah,
Bank.
And I was thinking to myself, see, that's exactly what we need to put down.
Right.
It, you know, it's public art. I
Oh,
mean, it's
it's
on
been there
private
for-
property, it's been there for forever.
Forever, as I
Right?
can remember.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yep, that would qualify.
Yeah, there's
So-
stuff outside the museum, there's,
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
right? The Mama Rex and Baby Rex, T-Rex, right?
Uh-huh.
So it would be creating an intern position. I had Lynn Boland, no, I didn't have her do that. I had her draft 2 position descriptions for me, but if you have something, do you think you
I
have
don't think I have a
anything?
job
All right,
description, because
so-
we just brought them on, they
So I will
wasn't
have,
part of that.
I will have
type of
Lynn
organization.
Boland draft a job description.
This is not paid.
Not
This
paid,
is
it's for credit.
For credit.
Right.
They're paying, actually, to
Right.
do this.
It would be good if we could put a little funds, because they're gonna be driving around, if we could give a little something
Mileage
for
or something.
mileage.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we proceed with the GBPAC intern positions.
Okay.
I'd second that. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, carried. So, Okay, well, moving on. Sounds good. Discussion with possible action on rotating our program. Okay.
So how do you want to, so we defined a little bit as we were talking about the grant program and a little bit of a contrast.
Mhm.
So just to reiterate, rotating art is on loan, it's in a public space, we define, we determine the amount of time the art is there. The goal is to sell it.
That's right.
With a commission to the city of about 5% or so, and then the artist would get the rest. If it's not sold, then the artist
Rotate.
would remove it.
Right.
Herself.
That's right. That's right. So one of the things that we need to, there are several things that we need to set in place in order to start the rotating art program. First and
Okay.
foremost, we need to acquire footings for sculpture work. And in order to do that, we need to find locations. And in order to do that, we need to make a map. So I guess the first thing to do is we need to create a map of potential locations. Maybe we have 10 places. And maybe we make 5 concrete footings, you know. It would be good if we could find places that have concrete already laid in high visible, heavily trafficked areas all around the city. We're not just talking about downtown, we'd like to, you know, use to beautify the entire city.
Right.
So-
Military Avenue, Webster
That's right.
Avenue,
Right.
University Avenue.
And the creation of this map is gonna probably take a little bit of time, but I think that's probably the first thing we need to do. And then after we have that, we can go to Public Works and talk about the installation of some concrete footings.
Okay.
Are we not putting the cart, the horse in front, the cart in front of the horse? We don't have any money, right?
We have no money right now.
No, we don't, but,
We're just making a plan.
We're just making
We're
a
just
plan.
plotting it out right now. We're
Plotting
not
it out.
actually,
yeah.
Okay,
we're finding spots.
let me tell you that, and that, well, this is what I'm thinking. I think this rotating art program would be a great application for block grant. And that's gonna define the places where we can put it. So, and I believe there's a public hearing, I just texted Krista to see when that is. There's a public hearing for a block grant.
Okay.
It might be tonight or tomorrow night.
Wow.
So
What is the next cycle?
people can make, that's coming up, so that they're making the plans right now. We're putting the plans together for block grant allocations.
For
next year.
2017?
Right.
So we could have something
So-
prepared for this evening,
Nope,
maybe?
no, that's not, no,
It's not on
the
the
public
agenda.
hearing is basically just, you know, we need to go and say, we think public art is important in Green Bay. I mean, that's a way to give input to staff to determine what the needs are for the city
Mhm.
when laying out the plan. So, we should have some comment maybe, and maybe that's just a letter, Kent, that you
Okay.
send to Krista, basically talking about the importance
That
of
would be
art.
today.
Well,
I can do that.
let me find out when it is.
Okay, all right.
Because I think you can get, it's not just, there's no deadline, there's a public opportunity to speak
Mhm,
publicly
mhm.
on the record, but I think you can still receive, she can receive comments.
I see.
Do you know what I
Okay,
mean? So
okay.
it's kind of a process thing, but, you know, we usually allocate impact dollars that maybe some of this money could be, you know, we could make an application for block grant with
Send letter.
regards to that.
Krista?
Krista, yep,
And she works with
she's our block grant coordinator.
Block Grant Coordinator.
We can walk out and get a card, Kent.
Great.
After the meeting. You know what I mean? So it'd be good for us to get, you know, on record for staff that
That's
we
right.
think public art's
Mhm.
important, especially in our.
I think we should put it on the CD.
That's right. Especially in our neighborhoods that have a few challenges with
Yeah.
regards to
Do you
infrastructure.
think that those block grant eligible areas are dispersed enough throughout the city so that we are touching on military, you know?
Yes.
All right.
I do, and I can actually,
Send a map.
actually, you can get a map from Krista
That'd
when
be
we
great.
walk out. It is actually, because it's based on census tract and income.
Okay.
So really, it's a pretty large area of the city. I mean, you're not going to be putting art in King of Arms.
Right.
But it's actually a larger area than you think. It's not just the downtown. So
King of
I think
Arms.
there are,
Neighborhood.
you know, far, far west.
Oh,
Far, far
right,
east,
right,
you know,
right, okay, neighborhood
these areas
association, I forgot
are
about
thinking
that.
of.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
You know what I mean? So, but there is a pretty substantial block grant eligible area that we can look at placing some of these pieces in.
That sounds great. And
Um,
we may need to, I mean, if we find a location that's just prime, we need to have a sculpture there and it's not in the map of, we can,
Yeah, this is just for block grant.
Okay.
I mean, if there's other money, we can mix that with,
Okay.
if we get some city money,
Absolutely.
you mix that, as long as we designate the block grant areas,
Right.
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
So
it's,
that, it's only to our advantage that we include block grants.
right,
Yeah. Okay, that's, let's get a map and get a card from Krista after.
we can get that, yep, after the meeting.
Okay, so that's great, so that could, we could use that money for the footings. The other thing that we're gonna need for our rotating arts program is we're gonna need an inventory of artists, like willing to install artwork.
Don't you go out for RFP?
Yes, you do.
Yes,
I mean, I think when we just placed our pieces on the river, we actually did, you know, we
And
just
there
went
are,
out for
there are
RFP.
organizations that will send out,
Like, I
Yep,
think
Mosaic.
Mosaic actually
Who
is
did
the
that?
one who
Yeah,
gave us
Scratch
a
Bench.
good.
And that's where our liaisons can help us out.
How did you find out about this
Oh,
stuff
man.
on the river?
I can't remember. That
Was it through
long.
Mosaics or, I mean, we tried to hit, we did, you know,
Oh,
public
snap.
releases and whatever, but
It could have been.
so Trello, this is interesting. Breaking news. This just in.
Yes,
Yeah, the city attorney's office questions whether or not posting for everyone to see a read-only would violate their terms of service. Trello's.
Trello's terms of service?
Yep.
Okay,
So.
sounds like we have some.
That's a
Work to
legal
do,
question.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking we could create our own interface and make some money off of this. Let's make our own public entity open, viewable by everybody service for public record.
Okay, you get right on that, Ken.
And all those
Ah,
places.
time for-
I think I'm gonna make a motion that Matt Bureau should do that.
Right,
Teach him not showing up.
That is hilarious.
Okay,
So, for the rotating art program, what action do we need today, other than, like, who's gonna work on the map, and who's gonna, I mean, because I'm thinking this rotating art program, again, I'm sure is like the mini grant, that there's
Right,
gonna be
it's
other
Racine.
communities that
Yep,
have
it's
this
Racine.
program.
this is, I mean,
So if we, can we look
Yes,
at,
I
Celestine, look at
will
Racine
actually
and-
contact Racine, I think it's Racine, who told me about it at a meeting.
So, also,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great, but the groundwork is gonna need to be done by, this is part of the responsibilities of this part-time position.
right,
That we need to talk about also, like, even if we don't have the money, making an action to, when we have so much dollars or whatever, making a position, because it's not, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of work for somebody to do.
right.
And the coordination of, like, I'll do this part, you do this part, it's just gonna be ridiculous, so.
You need, right, you need to
Make
have,
that
we had a
position.
point person, you know, when we did that art, just because you have to coordinate it all, artist, concrete. You know what I mean? It's a lot of coordination, and it's hard for a committee to do that, you really need somebody.
So,
When will we know about the stadium tax money?
He laughs. He cackles, his laugh, he actually cackles.
Is that
Done.
December 6th we'll
Bam.
know? What are the
Uh,
recommendations going?
well, just for economic development, they need to.
Where would this fall? Where would this public art money fall under? The
Economic development.
No, it might fall under also infrastructure, because parks falls under infrastructure, and if we do
But the grant application is under economic development,
Correct,
right?
yep.
right.
So when is
There is
that
no
gonna go
grant for,
to the
infrastructure.
council for approval?
Application.
Well, the subcommittee has to meet one more time,
Oh, okay.
because there was an application
Spam.
they
Yep,
missed,
Yep.
and then that will go to finance, and then we'll go to committee, I mean, to the council.
Will that happen, you think, by December 6th, or are we looking more like January, depending on timing?
It might happen December 6th. I
Okay.
thought there was talk of that,
It'd be nice to get it done,
yeah.
just for everyone in the
the
city to get it
subcommittee
done.
will meet before December 6th, won't they? So they'll have their
Who will?
recommendations again.
The subcommittee-
Finance?
The
Yeah,
finance
and it goes to
Yeah.
finance at the end of November. I believe finance meets November
Oh, okay.
29th.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think the subcommittee's gonna meet before then.
So
Yes.
if we have a job description in place and those, I mean, if we have some things in place and they're ready to go, if we receive some dollars, we could be ready to hire
Okay,
early next year, I'm thinking, right?
that would be good. Because in order for a lot of these things to be successful, the groundwork needs to be done by them before they're implemented, obviously.
Right.
So the sooner the better on that position. And
Mhm.
we had talked, well, I don't, can we talk about, we can't talk about this now.
Which?
The part-time position stuff,
Well, chairperson's report, but let's,
Oh, yeah.
so we
Project
have,
updates.
rotating.
I don't.
So the
what
rotating
was-
art program, I think, is just probably,
Did someone make a motion to refer to
motion
staff?
to, I think I did, motion to refer to staff.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
okay.
Motion carries.
To refer to staff.
Okay.
Okay, now you can discuss that under your report.
Okay, no bills, informational. Okay, so how will the part-time position work? My understanding is that there's two different ways we could potentially handle this part-time position. It would be either like city payroll, or it would be contractual.
Contract, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, we
like-
run it through HR, through the hiring
It
process.
would still need to go through the hiring process even if we're a
Oh.
contract, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it
Like-
doesn't.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so if
We have people under contract that will
Didn't
not.
go through HR? You know so.
I think the
Um,
contractual approach would be better, only because you could offer that position more money. And like $15 an hour, it would seem like, because we had talked about this
Mhm.
a little bit, we had talked about, like, if it went through the city, it would be, $15 an hour maybe, this type of position. It would have to go through the city council and,
Mhm.
um,
Personnel.
in the likelihood of that, like, I don't want someone who's just coming out of college, who's got to be in their bonnet to do, this is a specialized position in my opinion. So, we need to make it accessible to people who have specialized talents, I guess, desirable.
I think we should talk about that.
Okay?
Because I'm thinking this position in my mind is going to be that person researching all this stuff, coordinating with Public Works and the concrete placement, mapping.
Let's talk about those duties, I'm gonna write them down.
You know what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah,
Getting the agenda together,
Yeah.
The
those
biggest
types of
thing
things.
Is gonna also be fundraising.
Getting money. Yep.
Fundraising.
And we need to have somebody who's.
But
had
those are
experience.
those are two very different set of skills. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That would be I mean, to have that kind of paperwork, tracking, that type
Doing.
of work compared to a fundraising element that's going to be a hard combination.
That's why I'm saying it shouldn't be a $15 an hour job. It needs to be a little bit more than that. In order
But
to-
the fundraising, I see this position tracking the fundraising.
Not
Maybe
actually
making
doing
some
the
of the calls,
fundraising?
putting the stuff together, that kind of stuff. I see us and probably a campaign cabinet
Right,
doing the actual calls and fundraising.
which
But-
is,
But,
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I
that's how
disagree,
you
though.
raise money. You're going to have to.
I think we'd use that, but also this person would be, I think, instrumental in fundraising, if they have the skills to do that. Certainly,
Mhm.
I think that person would play a
Yep.
role in the acquisition of
Grant writing.
relationships, grant writing,
Mhm.
those types of things.
so what happened with the GBNLC is they actually got together a capital campaign, right?
Mhm.
And they raised, so there were a group of people who had contacts in the community, and they raised money over the course of, I only participated in one of them,
Uh-huh.
over the course of like 6 months. And that set up the GBNLC, this is back into the early.
We've done 3 capital
Three
campaigns
capital
so far.
campaigns,
Wow.
right. So, then that sets the GBNLC up for 3 years, because people make
Mhm.
3-year
About 3
commitments.
years, yep.
So that's how you do the fundraising. Which Cheryl
So
was right about.
Capital.
our GBNLC, our neighborhood support specialist
Uh-huh.
for the GBNLC tracks the money.
Mhm.
I mean, and actually, we worked it through the Community Foundation, so they actually did that. We pay the Community Foundation and they send the letters out, do that kind of stuff, but we had to form a committee of, movers and shakers in the community to actually knock on the doors and make the calls and
Mhm.
raise the money, and then that position tracked it, made sure stuff happened. kept track of the money. Put all of our paperwork together, our campaign packet together.
So there's an
Um,
actual subcommittee of the capital campaign?
Nope, there's actually, I think the GBNLC, just every 3 years, they, say we need to do a capital campaign. and
Okay,
And you get-
3 years.
Every 3 years we do it.
Which would make sense. Well, I think that's an average
Like a
commitment.
3-year
Is it?
commitment.
Yep.
Okay, so you get all of your funding in one
Yep.
thing.
Mhm.
Or-
And those benefits to those fundraising entities, whatever, they
Right.
Yeah.
last for 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll make a 3-year commitment.
They will make
so-
a 3, and you may get your money in 3 installments, you may get it in 2, you may get it all
Right.
in one lump sum, but they've made, the entity, excuse me, have made commitments for 3 years.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
thinking we need to probably set up a list of what we think are job duties.
Okay.
You know what I mean, like a job description of what our expectations are.
Breakfast.
Yeah, coffee.
So GEP, the GIS.
Now, will this person have a vote?
No.
No.
Just, okay, they're
This
just.
person,
They would not
staff
be on the
replaced
commission.
me.
It's really
Yep,
staff.
Yep, okay. Yep.
Yep.
GIS, so
Mhm.
let's make a list right now. Well, it's 8 o'clock.
I
It's 8 o'clock.
actually have interviews in
Yeah.
about 15 minutes.
so let's.
Can we bring it to the next meeting,
Yep,
maybe?
next meeting,
Kind of our expectations of how we
Sure.
see some job, like
Right.
a job description?
of job duties.
So hold this?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's nothing, he's just
Yeah,
directed.
discussion of
Oh,
possible
okay, okay.
action.
Chairperson's report,
Right,
so.
Yep, okay.
So maybe at the next meeting, let's talk about like what we think those actual tasks might be. And by the way, the CDBG public hearing is Thursday at 5 in this room.
Thursday.
CGB.
CDBG,
MOUSD,
Community Development Block Grant.
Okay.
the block grants.
So that public hearing is Thursday at 5 in this room.
Okay, Thursday at 5.
And that's just basically, our block grant administrator will sit here and, does anyone want to make a comment? Yep, I'm
Who's the block grant administrator?
Krista
Krista
Cisneros.
Oh.
Oh, Cisneros, oh.
Mhm. So, and then since she just basically takes it on, you come on record basically stating what you believe the needs are for the block grant programs.
And I can do
I
that
want
by
one for my
writing a
block.
record, or writing a letter
I think you
also.
can, yep, I think you, and we'll get her card for you on the way.
I'm emailing Kent and introducing you right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Hosting for Squarespace for a year is like $100. So
Okay.
10 years would be $1,000, which isn't that bad.
Once you have it.
Yeah. But I don't think you can pay for 10 years.
Hmm,
So
yep,
it
yep.
would just be a
Annual.
annual kind of commitment anyways.
Okay.
Okay.
So at our next meeting then, we're going to come back, looks like maybe with some recommendations of job descriptions. Hopefully Pooja will
Pooja will be there.
be able to make it. Some research is going to be had with
Yep.
regards to the rotating art
To
and the,
liaisons, including WGB, job description for the intern, find out information from Racine for the rotating art program.
Yep.
And then, okay,
Um,
yep, that's it.
Madison maybe grant.
Grant
Oh, that's right,
Grant
right,
application.
right,
So we'll have a lot to do.
yeah.
Good.
Which
This
is
is good.
Yeah.
We need to do this before we can actually start getting pieces up,
Yeah, right.
which is
Which we wanna
ultimately the goal.
I'd like to get some pieces up. It'd be nice if we could do it next summer.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually working with Jeff. I have some work that I'm going to be putting up some storefronts coming up in the downtown
Oh,
area.
cool.
So,
Well, that's good.
yeah, and that could potentially be
How-
public artwork.
how's Pedro doing?
It's vacant buildings with
We have to talk about
storefronts.
Pedro next time.
Oh, yeah, Pedro's going to be on the,
Next agenda, we talk about Pedro's, we'll talk about Cinemas.
And I'll get a hold of Mary now that things are,
oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yep, now that we've had a finale.
yeah.
All right.
All right,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
okay.
Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, that's
Thank
weird.
you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna go hire some CSIs.
Really?
Oh. Yeah, which by the way, we pay $11